Good morning, welcome to everybody, the new friends, the old friends. It's a joy to have you all here to spend some time with me. I'm Daniela. This is my sunroom in my house in Perth, Western Australia. And I feel like I should pull out more chairs and have you all sitting here with me. Well, it would be ideal, but let's have a chat on the internet, shall we? So first of all, let's do the sort of housekeeping. You find me on Ravelry as DanyUK and on Instagram as a knitter's suitcase. And I have a bit of an announcement. I also have an email address for this podcast that you can use if you want to reach out to me, and I'll write it down here. It's aknittersuitcase@gmail.com. Somebody has tried to get in touch with me via Ravelry, and by any means, if you feel to do that, no problem. But I definitely check my emails much more than I check my Ravelry inbox. So I thought it would be nice to have a specific address for my podcast. Another little communication is that I did that in my previous episode, and I'm doing it again from now on. I'll add timestamps in the description box below the screen, so you can decide to jump to one or other section of the video, because I realize I'm recording for longer and longer stretches of time, and I don't want to bore anybody. Okay, so what are we talking about today? Today we are talking about one finished object. We are talking about a few works in progress, because really I'm planning to give this episode the title My Restless Knitting. I've been doing less knitting than usual, and I've been switching from one project to another, and I haven't, I have been a bit disappointed by some projects. I'll tell you more later. And then I'll show you a new acquisition I've got that I'm very excited about, and I need to think what I may do with that. And well, there is actually quite a big announcement later on, not strictly knitting, but knitting related. And I'm gonna tell you at the very end a little bit about my first experience as a teacher at a local class here in Perth, knitting teacher, of course, and about attending this event and another fiber related event. Okay, so my finished object for this episode is what I'm wearing, and if you have a keen eye, you'll recognize it from last episode when I showed it to you as a work in progress. So this is my Claire in Paris shawl, a fantastic design by Susanna Kaartinen, who is Sanna & Co. I'll add all the details below. And that I test knitted for her. So the pattern is not out yet, but will be released on the 29th of June, not far. So make sure you keep a note of this date, and you follow her on Instagram so you can, be up to date with all the beautiful things she does, not only this shawl. Test knitting it has been an amazing joy, because it's extremely exciting and fun to knit, and also because from a social point of view, I must say, this test knit has given me a lot of joy meeting the other test knitters, and I have really beautifully, interacted with Susanna and everything. So it's been a true exciting and joyful project. Now, my previous episode, I did explain quite a bit where the inspiration comes from, the Outlander TV and TV series and books. So I am just now sort of trying to focus on the technical details of this knit, let's say. As you can see, it's a triangular shawl, really, really big and very drapey, I must say. I won't be able to show it all on camera, so I've recorded a little bit of footage and I'll add it on the side here for you. It's a triangular shawl. Well, I could say it's a stripy shawl, but the construction is so innovative and clever that these stripes, create a very, very intense and original and new sort of geometric pattern throughout the shawl. You start from the sort of core of it, which is this little diamond that I decided to do in lime green. And then it stretches out. You knit the central sort of triangle first, this triangle here, and then you add the borders and you add these amazing tassels. I'm gonna tell you, I will write down the recipe that Susanna suggests for these tassels and use it again and again, because I love the size, I love the plumpiness. I think they are the perfect example of tassels for a shawl like this. The yarn I have used is a mix of different brands and colors, of course, as there were two options for, that are suggested in the pattern, 2 colors or 3 colors options. And of course, as I I always add something if I can. I did a 4 color version, and I used, I've got all my labels here to show you. I've used, for the main color, Ducky Ducklings Yarns Mocha, there it is, Superwash Merino Yak Nylon 4-ply, 72010. This is a yarn that I had in stash from my days in the UK. I don't know how far back it goes, but I've had it for some time. Then I added this commercial yarn, Cesia Dahu Fancy, which is this sort of variegated color, quite dark. And the colorway is 2123. And then I added the Filcolana Arveta, the teal. Here it is. Filcolana Arveta is 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon, 420 meters for 100 grams. So is your usual sock yarn. And the colorway is 202. But as I was feeling that these 3 colors only together would make it a bit too dark, I ended up adding also a pop of color, which has, become quite a substantial portion of it. But I find that it's a great addition because it highlights so well this core diamond here and how the stripes, change shape and position. And I enjoy very much the very, final stripe that creates a very neat border all around the shawl. And this is a yarn that I had bought last year for my Stephen West knit along that I was very keen to join, and then I started and never finished. Well, there were also the days I was moving from the UK to Perth here, so I had quite a lot of my mind, and it wasn't wise to decide and start a Stephen West knit along at that time. So this was Eden Cottage yarn, Milburn 4-ply. It is a delicious yarn. It's 85% blue-faced Leicester, 15% silk. I really love blue-faced Leicester. It's a It's a typical British wool, and it's soft, and with the addition of silk, it's really fantastic. It is again 200 meters for 50 grams, so it's a perfect fingering weight, and the shade is Fern. How much did I use? So I can tell you that this shawl is 207 grams before the tassels, because honestly, for the tassels, you are free to, choose what you prefer to do. I did 2 tassels that are mixed colors and 1 in this sort of dark teal, but the tassels themselves were 23 grams of yarn, and the amount of yarn I used for the shawl itself is 94 grams of the brown, the main color, and then I used 31 grams of the variegated. I used 36 grams of the teal and 46 grams of the green, of the lime green or fern, as of course it runs all around the longest sort of stripe, so it could not be, necessarily it's the one that you use the most in terms of contrasting colors. And yes, I'm reading all these data from my journal page for the project that I did show before. So this is just a real leaf that I attached here, as it gave me quite a lot of inspiration in terms of coloring and in terms of, the vibe of the shawl. These are my contrasting colors. And I've got a date, so the cast on was the 1st of May and the bind off the 24th of May. It's knitted on 3.5 millimeter needles that, of course, when used with fingering weight yarn, contribute to having a really drapey and very, very soft texture. I just added a few notes on the inspiration for these colors that I was planning to add a photo here. Basically, it is a scene from the second series of the Outlander TV show, which is different to those 2 that Susanna was using as her own inspirations for the 2 different color options she suggested. And then this is a little pocket where I normally store the yarn bands that I've just shown you. The amount of yarn I've used, the release date, as you know, is the 29th of June. And the yarn amounts that I have used. And there is also a little note about using this Susanna's recipe for tassels again, because I really enjoyed it. So this is really a very, very enjoyable project. Susanna suggests also different sort of bind off for the border, which is with bobbles. And I must say, while I have zero patience with bobbles, and I wouldn't dare do that, I must say other testers did such fantastic jobs with that. And their shawls are absolutely beautiful. In particular, I will add here the photograph by Cheryl, who is Natural Fiber Arts. She's got her own dyeing company, and she dyed the yarn for that specific, sort of inspiration scene from the show. And oh my goodness, it is such a beauty. The main character in the show could have worn that herself over her costume, because it really feels like, the perfect match, and it's also extremely beautiful. Another friend of mine has used a blue and gray combination, which was fantastic. I think her yarn has got cashmere in it as well. Photo here. And the fact that, you know, the stripes make you not only alternate color, but also texture, because the main color is stockinette and the contrasting stripes are garter, conveys an even, you know, more interesting look for the project. So another friend of mine, Nicole of the Perfect Pairings podcast, is doing her version in DK with a beautiful white or cream and green combination, where the green is a very intense forest dark green that I think is, wow, absolutely stunning. So if you look up the hashtag Claire in Paris Shawl on Instagram, you'll see a lot of interesting versions, and I'm sure that as soon as the pattern itself is released, again 29th of June, there will be many more popping up on Instagram and all over the knitting world. I can this shawl could be a very interesting entry for a knit along that was very recently announced in the podcasting community by Selma from Little Big Knits, and it is a hashtag, I'll add it down here, where you are invited to use Nordic patterns or patterns by Nordic designers. And I'll remind you that Susanna Kaartinen is from Finland originally, and she, if you look at her sort of catalogue of patterns, she tries to share and interpret a lot of her own traditional culture, because she also belongs to a specific ethnicity in her project. So it's absolutely interesting. And you could also use like yarn that is dyed or produced in the Nordic countries. So this is a very fitting sort of pattern, or any pattern by Susanna. She has recently sort of celebrated her 3rd anniversary of her designing career that, goodness me, in only 3 years it has skyrocketed, featuring her designs, on the most important publications, like her overlay, I think overlay jumper or vest is on the cover page of one of the latest Pom Pom magazine issues. So she has celebrated her 3rd anniversary in great style, I must say. And yes, there are very interesting patterns. So make sure you give her a catalog a look on Ravelry or on her website. Or I understand she'll be, if you're in Australia, she'll be participating in the big show at Bendigo in July, where I will be going. Super exciting. Okay. So, works in progress. I have been really restless with my works in progress, my current projects. I don't know, I've started a few and I wasn't feeling them, and it's been a bit of a difficult few weeks. But, well, this one is one that I started shortly after my previous episode. And I've been steadily working on it, though slowly because I've been very busy, but steadily working on it, and I'm definitely loving it. You can see it modeled here for you by by one of my recent purchases, which is a vintage mannequin. I bought it on Marketplace for $10, so it really is a very cheap thing, but it's vintage and I love that sort of old-fashioned style. And well, the lady who sold it to me told me she was giving the money for charity, so I think, you know, that's that's even better. I thought I should name her, I should give her a name, and this morning while I was brushing my teeth, I decided that name is gonna be Margherita, which is the Italian for Daisy. I don't know why, but I like that name. So Margherita and I are happy to introduce you to my second Lento. So in the previous episode, I showed you this very speckled, very colorful and happy yarn that I bought at a D-Stash, and it is by Fiber Lily, an Australian hand dyer. It's super soft sock, so it's 390 meters of 75 super fine Australian superwash merino and 25% nylon fingering weight yarn. The colorway is called Cosmos Fleur. And I just happened to decide to swatch it with some black mohair. And this is the result. And honestly, I like it a lot. I like it very, very much. It is the super soft fabric. And I have been thinking, what shall I knit with it? What shall I make? I only have 2 skeins of these. And so at one point I said, let me see if the dyer is still dyeing this colorway. So I went on her website and I did find it is still in production. But for some reason, looking at it on the website, it looked to me as if it were different to what I have. And I didn't really want to risk buying another skein and then not finding it is a good match. Though, to be honest with you, mixed with the mohair, even if it were different, you wouldn't notice that terribly. Anyway, I just decided to do another Lento. You remember I knitted one in one of my first episodes, I showed it, and I'm wearing it so much. I find it so comfortable, it's super warm, and even if it's a simple plain garment, I think maybe the mohair, maybe how drapey the fabric is, it's also quite, you know, quite not sophisticated, but it makes you feel like you are a little bit dressed up. So yes, I decided to knit another Lento. And I also felt like, you know, as my brain was a bit muddled up with many unhappy projects I wasn't feeling very much, doing a stockinette one would really, you know, be good and soothing and would help me find more inspiration for more complicated projects. So I've mentioned it before, the Lento is a pattern by Joona Hietala, who is the founder or one of the founders of the publication Line magazine that is absolutely one of the most popular, the current most popular publications, and it's been knitted a gazillion of times, really. So my idea with this was to, of course, showcase this yarn combination, but also try and, you know, add some sort of different elements to make it slightly more, you know, different to the one I've made already. So I've started by, this is a second side. It's knitted top down, couldn't find the word. It's knitted top down on 6mm needles. That's the trick for making the fabric extremely soft and drapey. And I cast on for this second size the number of stitches that are prescribed for the size 3 without doing any ribbing at the neck, because the pattern requires a folded neckband, ribbed neckband. I didn't do that the first time either. I only did a simple ribbed neckband with a tubular cast on. Here I did a normal German twisted cast on the number of stitches that would be suitable for a size 3, and then I carried on with my increases until I reached the total number of stitches that would suit size 2. So I was trying to have a little bit of a bigger neck opening, and I was sort of thinking I'll decide later on what I really want to make of this neck. I could leave it raw as it is, like that, or maybe add a neckband afterwards. And now I keep toying with an idea that was inspired by a very popular pattern currently largely seen all over the internet, which is the Confluence jumper by Wanderlust Knitwear, who is Kathleen Turowski. This jumper is featured in Neons and Neutrals, the recent book curated by Amy of La Bien Amy, very dodgy pronunciation, for Line Publishing. And actually what the pattern is about a combination of fingering and lace, like this one, which is there worked with a 4.5mm needles rather than this airy gauge that's typical of the Lento. And then the two strands are basically worked in a different sort of combination for the neckline and the cuffs and the bottom ribbing. So this is the photograph, just to give you an idea. And I think I'd like to, carry on with my Lento, adding some details that would recall that sort of pattern. So I could make a small ribbing at the neck with or without a contrasting stripe as the Confluence features. And for the sleeves, I'd really like to, make a very long cuff as the Confluence shows with 2 stripes. Color-wise, for the contrast, I've got these beautiful, very bright pink, this tonal called Oh So Pink by DanyUK Yarns, a local dyer that I've mentioned before. I've got some leftovers teal from this shawl that is also a color that's quite distributed all over this jumper. So there are options there, though I must say I've seen one by Caitlin herself, which has got, it's more or less this color throughout with the mohair, and it looks to me as if the cuffs have the contrasting stripes they have are in a like sort of stellina or lurex sort of. That's very cool. But I'm not making decisions today. Let's wait and see. I've got quite a lot of excitement for it. Trying to stay, let me move Margherita a little bit away from me because it's suffocating me a bit. And staying with exciting, oh, wait, I have to show you, where's piece of paper? I have to show you the page that I have created on my knitting journal for this jumper, which is this one. So I have, this is like a mandala coloring bit of thing that I had at home. So I've colored in with some of the tones that are in the yarn, just to give me inspiration. This is the ball band from Fiber Lily's yarn, the Cosmos Fleur. A little note about the Lanagato silk mohair yarn, which is a 6037, it's just a black. And then yes, I'm doing size 2 on needles, on 6mm needles, and I've just written down, it's like jewels in a coal mine, because you know all the jewel colors of this yarn are shining through this sort of suit black layer of fluff, and they just gave me that vibe. So tell me if you think it's a suitable name. Brilliant. Of course, on the not very big bits of space that are left on the page, I will be taking notes of all my modifications. So I wrote no ribbing at the neck, cast on stitches for size 3, and increases as Claire in Paris show. Yes, because I'm using for the raglan increases here the method that Susanna suggests in the shawl pattern that I was sort of, you know, in the swing of it after having done the shawl. Look how cute it is, just worn like that, like a bit of a poncho. And so I've done that. Basically, you lift the stitch in the row below, not while you usually there's a method that makes you pick up the bar between the two stitches on the right and on the left needle. In this case, you pick up one of the legs of the stitch from the row below, and you make a new stitch by knitting that leg. So anyway, all my notes will keep, you know, being on the rest of this page. I may have to add a little bit of paper there if I carry on. Also, as I'm on the, you know, on the run with projects that are greatly exciting me, I want to talk to you about another one that I have only recently started, and that it's so good. So this is what I've done so far. As you can see, it is a strip. It is a strip with a very cute sort of little braid in the middle, little cable in the middle, and some twisted stitches on the sides. The yarn combination, I am loving it. Again, this is, I know I add more hair to everything, but that's what I like, the softness it gives you. It's so amazing that I can't help myself. So this is a combination of Bendigo Woolen Mills Classic 3-ply in the colorway 773 Aegean Mix, and I'll show you the yarn itself. Is a sort of heathered blue with kind of a bit of purple in it. I don't know if you can appreciate it, but it's quite obvious, you know, in normal light. Matched with this again, Lanagato mohair that I had my husband bring back for me from the UK as a souvenir. I was actually looking for something more of a cobalt sort of blue, but there was like a shortage of cobalt in those days. So this is what I got, and it's colorway 8390. It is much more of an, ink, the blue biro pens. That's the sort of color, and I wasn't terribly excited with it when I got it in and put my hand on it. But I must say that the combination of these two yarns is a winner. It is a real winner. And you would ask, what are you making with it? Is it like, your dressing gown belt? It is not. This is the beginning of a jumper by Natasha Hornby, Moonstruck Knits. If you remember, I did mention her previously as the designer of one of my dream sort of knits, a cardigan called Lento that is knitted sideways, and that I was quite excited about, and this and that. But then I have sort of looked better at my current, wardrobe, and I do feel like I want a very nice and warm and snuggly jumper rather than a cardigan at this point in time. And so this is Natasha's Circe, I think you could pronounce it. In Italian, it would be Circe. She is a mythological character. I have done quite a lot of, studying of myth and literature when I was at high school in Italy. And she's sort of a witch. She's described in most of the mythology as a witch. She's the one who stopped Ulysses in his, trip back home after the war by turning his companions into pigs because she didn't want him to leave. Anyway, it's quite an interesting character. I've afterwards read more recently a book. I don't remember the writer now, but I may write it down, where her character is described in rather a different way, as a bit of an outcast in the world of the gods, and somebody who finds herself in her relationship with nature and with the plants and the herbs and the animals on the island where she lives. So she is quite an interesting character from what how she's depicted in this book. Anyway, enough digressions on the name. What really made me decide to make this jumper is the construction. Because, after trying the exciting construction of this shawl, I really wanted to, and, working on a plain thing. Well, I don't know, it isn't exactly plain, but in a stockinette project, I really wanted something a bit more exciting. And so I've picked the Circe. And what is this bit of knitting I'm showing you? It's a strip that runs all the way down the sleeve of the jumper up to the neck, or up or down from the neck. I don't know how you want to see it. And so you knit two of these, one for each arm. And then I'm not quite sure because I haven't read through and through, but the pattern, I believe it have you put these two pieces together by picking up the stitches along the edges of both and short rowing the main body of the jumper from there, which I find is super exciting. It's really very different, very unusual. The overall, well, this is the pattern. I should probably show you a photograph. So the overall look of it is quite, nice, quite original. It's got these dolman sleeves, but it's fitted at the waist, so it's quite a, it isn't necessarily a garment you wouldn't consider for dressing up a bit. I think the color will be very nice on me. What do you think? And boy, if it's warm, if it's cozy and warm, exactly as I wanted it. So I want to power on with these and keep going. And I've started the second band for the other sleeve, so I need to carry on knitting on this one, which is, it goes quite fast. Of course, it's only a few stitches, and then it's a four rows repeat, so it's quite entertaining to knit. And then hopefully, at my next episode, I'll show you some significant progress on it, and it will probably look a bit more like a jumper than it does now. And this is my page for this project. Very simple, because I don't know, thinking of Circe, I was thinking of a classical Greek. I was thinking of a classical Greek aesthetic. So, those amazing white marble statues. And I've added this lavender flower just to, as a reminder of that connection that Circe has with nature and with the animals and plants in her island. That, and the color, of course, is very close to the color of my jumper. But I'm sure this page will get filled with more notes by next time. It's knit on 3.5 millimeter needles. And yes, that's it. Well, carrying on with the works in progress, I've got another couple that I'll show you. Oh, in here, in this pretty pouch that I bought in Italy, in my mother-in-law's city, there is a secret. There's a secret work in progress that I can't share with you. And if you're cross with me, I understand, because I had my best friend at high school used to ring me in the afternoon and telling me, I have something to tell you, but I'll tell you tomorrow morning. And that was driving me crazy. And I think I'm doing a little bit like that with you today, so you have to forgive me. But not really, I can't show it to you or on social medias, but I will eventually. So talking about works in progress, I will just very, very quickly show you another couple of works in progress that I'm planning to rip off. Not because, one at a time. So this one is in a little project bag that I saw myself. And this is just a little clue for what's coming up later. And this is the beginning of a shawl that I have had in my library on Ravelry for quite some time. And I really like it. There is no page for it in my diary because I think that's a sign that this shawl is not meant to be, but it's really beautiful. Again, I'll add a photo. It's the Winterland shawl by Nadia Cretin-Lechen, French designer. please go and check her Ravelry. She's got amazing shawls. There's one, I think it's called Wind of Change, with lace and brioche. That's sensational. I don't know. This one is a crescent, I think, shawl. It is started with a tab just here in the middle, and then it's an alternation of lace and garter bands, and it's finished with a 2x2 ribbing band. I suppose one of the reasons why I'm not gonna go on, I'm not enjoying it, is because I've worked with this yarn before for my Venezia shawl that I gave to a friend of mine, and you know, I'm like that. I get bored of working with the same things. It's super soft, it's lovely, it's alpaca and silk, but I'm bored. And the lace is beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. So I think I'll knit this shawl eventually, but not quite this time. So this is meant to be ripped off. Bye. And the other one is a sock that that's where my yarn gauge was. I had lost it. The other one is a sock that I was making with some balls of sort of mini skeins that my friend Lindsay, she's got her own podcast, I've mentioned her before, So Sweet Samuel. She's a multi-skilled maker. She does all sorts of things. So I don't think she'd be particularly proud of this sock I've made. Though, as often happens, looking at it on camera, it's less unpleasant than it is, you know, in person. I was trying to use these yarns together because they are part of an Easter Advent swap that I've done with Lindsay, and I would really like to sort of, you know, make something that reminds me of her. And I was trying to do this tiny bit of color work. It's a few rows of 2x2 of the different colors, because my color work in general is not amazing. And well, no, I wouldn't say in general. It's not amazing when I do small circumferences. So I wanted to practice with that a little bit. And, you know, looking at it now, it isn't too bad. I just think these colors don't really gain much by being, you know, put together in a color work. I'd probably enjoy it more if they were like a plain stripes on a sock, or I don't know. I need to think about it again and see what I'll do. The gray is Filcolana Veta, classic. Again, it's the colorway 957, which is a light gray. And yes, this was the body of the sock, the leg of the sock. And here I had started adding the gray to, you know, start doing the foot, the heel and the foot in the gray color. I don't know. I'm not feeling it terribly, but well, as we speak of socks, though, I will just tell you, so you can pin me down to this resolution, to this declaration, that I have decided, together with a few people from my virtual knitting group in the UK, of joining the sock knit along that Stephen West has recently announced, maybe as a warm-up for the shawl knit along that will happen later in October, as it usually does. This year I would like to do that again. Well, try and do it for sure, you know, really, because I haven't done it before. I've only had made the resolution and then not done it. Another little bag that I've made with beautiful block printed fabrics by imported from India by a lady who's got a shop here in Perth. Very, very, very nice shop. We are approaching the point where I will need to tell you what it is that I'm going to announce. But first of all, I wanted to show you this beautiful, beautiful gift that I have been given by my special friend Lynn. I'll tell you more about, the day we spent together later on. But this is so beautiful. You see, this is Neighborhood Fiber Co., which is one of the yarns that Stephen and Penelope, their shop in Amsterdam, carries. And it's 100% organic merino. It's a single, and it's called Rustic Fingering, and the colorway is Rosemont. Isn't this the most beautiful present? Look at the color. It's a light teal, and how many times shall I say that teal is my favorite color? Now, I have a very, very big problem now because I am not sure what I want to knit with it. The first thing that came up to my mind was knitting a Wilfreda. Wilfreda, photo here, is a jumper that I have, it was brought to my attention by Anna at my North Knit Corner. She's made one, and it's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. It's knit in fingering and fluff together. You can go for mohair, you can go for alpaca, brushed alpaca. And it's stockinette with a very interesting cabled band across the yoke here. And it is knitted at the same gauge as the Lento, as the ranunculus, as the Love Note. So it's, I think, again, 6mm needles. So you could very well make a jumper my size with these two skeins. And that was the first thing my mind went to. And I think I'd love it. But then I also thought, oh, well, to highlight the beauty of the yarn itself, probably it would make more sense, using it on a shawl. And I haven't got a shawl this color, so I'd really love it. But I can't decide. Every day I change my mind. I really can't decide. So, well, let me know, you lovely people. So now I can't delay it any longer. I need to make my big announcement, and the announcement is that thanks to the encouragement of so many of you who've sort of reassured them of the fact that they liked my bags that I've been sewing for myself and that they were beautiful, and well, I've decided to sew a few more and to pop them on Etsy in a new little project bag shop that I now have. Of course, the name of the shop is A Knitter's Suitcase. And well, there are a few bags there for you to have a look at. Here is a little bit of a catalog. For the time being, I have uploaded some small project bags of more or less this size, which would be okay for like a 1 skein project probably. So there are quite a few different colors, and all of them have some fun lining inside, because for me it's all about choosing the fabrics and matching the outside and the inside of the bags together. These ones got stripes, and these fun sort of knitting patterned fabric. They are all drawstring at the minute because that is my preference. They are nicely padded so they can stand up, you know, by themselves if you need it when you're, you know, leaving your ball inside and knitting out of them. And the fact that they are drawstring, they have drawstring, prevents your yarn from getting tangled on, you know, the bits of the zippers. Sometimes it happens to me with my zipped bags. And yeah, there are quite a few for your choice and for your appreciation. I try and, you know, match things. Color drives me. Color really drives me. So that's what you'll find in these bags. And then there are a few bigger ones. These bigger ones have got a handy handle on the side. This one I've called it Mary Poppins because the umbrellas remind me of Mary Poppins a lot. It has got a fun green lining inside. This one is the Farm Disco bag. Look at these crazy sheep and goats and the other animals with this confetti sort of fabric that I've used in a few of them. I really like it. This is all about the parrots. Here they are. I don't know why, but I've realized that in the fabric I have picked, here and there are a lot of birds. Maybe it's the local flora and fauna that is inspiring me. This one has got like a lighter lining. So all the bigger ones have got their outside handle, and they have got the drawstring again, and matching fabrics and colors, all in bright colors. You know, this is my trend at the minute. And then I have created, well, this one is definitely okay for even 3 skeins of yarn, 2 to 3 skeins of yarn. You'll see lots of photographs on my Etsy shop. I have a link, of course, in the description box below, and you can see how the skeins fit, and they do beautifully. Even the big ones have got, you know, a boxed bottom, and they stand up quite all right on their own thanks to the fact that they are padded, or you can hang them to your chair or to any hook on the train or car seat by the handle. This one is the first prototype of a bigger one, but I mean, I love this print. This is amazing. And this one has got two big pockets inside, very, very roomy, and it can hold 4 skeins very comfortably. There's space for your big jumper project, or for the beginning of a blanket, or a big Stephen West shawl, all these things. So they are quite simple in terms of the structure, as you've seen, but I've used mine now for quite some time, and I am enjoying them so much. And I find that just by looking at them, my knitting vibes, you know, picks up, and I feel like I want to grab my project. At the moment, I am shipping only to Australia, as I haven't quite, you know, figured out how to go about shipping internationally, and I'm not sure people would like to have a bag shipped to them from the other side of the world. But please let me know. You can comment here. You find me on Instagram. I'll share more of those the projects bag that I'm sewing on Instagram, and you can reach me there and let me know if you are somewhere else and you'd like a specific bag. I'll see if, you know, how shipping, you know, internationally may work. One thing that I really, really want to do though is to start this little journey of mine in the, you know, sewing bag, project bags production world, with a moment of that I want to be well-wishing for everybody, and I want to be a moment of, Thanksgiving, because truly, since I've started this podcast, I have had so much enthusiasm. You people out there have given me a lot of motivation, have given me, a lot of love. I have recently met some of my viewers in person, and I couldn't believe that they were stopping me just to say, "Oh, I watch your podcast. Oh, you're great." It is amazing. So I want to open this little shop of mine by offering 2 bags for sale that I will be they are basically charity. So I'm finding a little bit difficult to say what I want to say, as this is something that touches me personally, I'm afraid. But the point is that I want to celebrate this new opportunity that I get thanks to the support and encouragement of all my viewers, by putting in my shops these 2 bags that I have made with this beautiful fabric, beautiful as it looks, but also full of encouraging messages for somebody who may be struggling with their health and who may be looking at knitting right now as a way of finding some space of calm and of healing. So these 2 bags, a small one, sock size, and a bigger one with its handle, a 2 or 3 skein size, will be in my shop. But I am going to turn all the money I'll get for them to a charity. I haven't looked into it yet, as I'm not familiar with the sort of cancer support organizations here in Australia. I want to give the money I'll get for these 2 bags to one of these organizations, and I hope that these bags will sort of bring some joy and some encouragement and some hope to somebody who's maybe struggling with cancer, or who may have, as I have unfortunately, struggled in the past. But now I'm here, I have lots of joy in my life, and I'm giving a little bit of this joy to somebody who hopefully will enjoy my bags. Bit rumbly, but we've got there, haven't we? So yes, please have a look at my shop and let me know if you like anything. Please keep this conversation with me open about the bags, as we do about the projects, the knitting, everything, and I hope you like them. So this is all my makes, but I have had some very exciting days related with the fiber arts recently, as I went on to different adventures, let's say, lately. So this is the sort of life updates that many podcasters add at the end. So on the 4th of June, I went to what I understand is sort of the most popular, famous, maybe old fiber event in Western Australia, which is in a very cute country town called 2J. I keep saying the name wrong. It was a fantastic sunny day. The drive to 2J was amazing, and we enjoyed the countryside. The festival was smaller than I thought, but there were a few dyers that some I already knew, like Michelle of Dying to Knit, or Amy of Cable Ties, others that I hadn't met before. There was some other group, some other sort of shops and stalls that I had seen before. So we really had a very, very nice day out. If you are in Western Australia, I suggest you consider it for next year. There was this gentleman with his 3 or 4 sheep that kept walking them up and down the main street with the shepherd's dog barking at them. It was quite cute. I may add a tiny bit of a recording that my daughter did there at the end. And I did meet meet B. Hi B, if you're watching, who is one of my viewers, and we had a very nice conversation. It was delightful, really delightful. And then on Sunday, this past Sunday, that as you all know was Knitting in Public Day, I went and ran my first 2 knitting workshops at a D-Stash event here in Cannington in Perth. Basically, it was an event where crafters could take their leftovers or their stash from their craft rooms to D-Stash and, you know, sell it to other makers. And 3 different, let's call stalls were dedicated to workshops. So there was one for sharpening knives and scissors. There was one that looked really interesting, but I didn't have time to look into it, where they were doing some felting, like decorating scarves with a felted wool. And then there was I with my little circular knitting workshop. The idea was that I was going to transfer the basic skills to pick up circular knitting to total beginners. Then what happened was that a couple of these ladies, I had 4 in total, 2 at one session and 2 at another session. A couple of these ladies were already familiar with the technique, but they wanted either to, you know, speed up or to learn specific bits. And goodness me, it was intense. I don't know how, of course, you know, professional teachers do it time and time again and know all the techniques, but for me it was already quite challenging to sit in between 2 different people and try and teach to them at the same time. But it was the most amazing day. In addition to my students, I had a few friends joining me at my store. Kobe and Cinzia, who are friends from Perth, and the most wonderful friend I've made recently, Lynn, who came all the way up from Albany, which is a few hours in the car away from here, to spend the day with me. She's an amazing knitter, so much better than me, but she was just you know, supporting me with anything I could need, trying to, you know, deal with the bystanders, because it was being in the middle of a market, it was busy, people were asking questions, so she really played the perfect sidekick, and she even drove me back home, and then luckily she could sit with me a little bit and take a cup of coffee and of tea and have a nice conversation that both my husband and I enjoyed so much. So you see, I think I had the perfect knitting in public day, a day when, you know, I could share what I love with others, a day when what we were doing together, women of obviously different ages, different backgrounds. You'll see the photographs and a little bit of recording at the bottom of the video, and we laughed, and we had this strong connection through our bowl. We were like all knitting from the same bowl of creativity and companionship. And so that's what I've written in my Instagram as well. Please, people, share the word, make everybody who doesn't knit, and this will only make, you know, it will make people closer. I think really knitting makes people closer and make sharing the love so great. So yes. I think I've said enough for today, and it's been great. I hope you enjoyed my little, well, not little, my quite long chat. I suppose for me it's time to go and pick up my daughter from school, so I'm sending you a big woolly hug. I hope wherever you are, you're well, and you are, you know, taking this time to knit and watch a podcast as a break from whatever is in your life. Even, you know, when everything is great and things are running smoothly, our days can be busy. So I realized there were times in my life when I never took a rest. I never sat down and did something just for myself, and it is precious time. Make sure you claim that. Okay? Big hug. Check my Etsy shop and let me know what you think. A massive hug. Bye.